Why Avatar is an art film. In today's strict movie categories, James Cameron's Avatar is a textbook example of a blockbuster, right? It's known for its massive box office numbers and cutting-edge technology, which seem to put it in direct contrast with art house movies. Films thought to be driven by the director's vision, deeper themes, and a resistance to mainstream appeal. But this split is shaky at best, and mostly a made-up marketing term pushed by the film industry. If we take a closer look at what these labels really mean and bring in ideas from philosophy and history of film, we can see that Avatar isn't just a big-budget spectacle. It's an art house movie, and that's my take. It shows the same artistic ambition, bold style, and personal vision that truly defines art cinema. 1. Auteurism. First, we need to define our terms. Blockbuster isn't a genre based on style or content, but a label tied to business and money. It refers to a film's massive budget, heavy marketing, and its role as a financial anchor for a studio. On the other hand, art house points to creative goals. These are films led by directors with a personal vision, what's often called the auteur theory, which came from the 1950s in France. These are films that take risks with form and that wrestle with deep philosophical and political ideas. The mistake is thinking these two categories are mutually exclusive, that they don't overlap. In reality, the line between art house and blockbuster is often blurred. Plenty of indie films are made with commercial success in mind, while big studios have sometimes backed very personal and experimental projects. One clear example is Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, a film that's philosophical, light on plot, and visually groundbreaking, and yet was bankrolled by MGM, a major studio. What makes a film artistic is its purpose in how it's made, not who pays for it and for what. That's exactly where Avatar challenges and breaks the false divide. At its core, James Cameron's film is about creating the sublime, an idea from aesthetic philosophy that's long been central to art. Edmund Burke described the sublime as a mix of awe, fear, terror, an overwhelming scale that goes beyond what we can fully understand. Film critic Roger Ebert, in his glowing 4-star review, didn't praise Avatar for its story, but for how fully it pulls you in. The screen is a window into another world. That kind of language speaks directly to the idea of the sublime. James Cameron's decade-long effort, which started with a 1995 treatment called Project 880, wasn't just about cool visual effects. It was about building a machine that could bring a deeply personal vision to life. The dizzying Banshee flights, the terrifying power of the Thanator, and the massive destruction of the home tree were all carefully designed to trigger what Kant called the dynamical sublime, a feeling that comes from facing something overwhelmingly powerful. This aim to spark a raw, gut-level emotional reaction beyond logic and conscious thought is something he shares with art house directors like Terrence Malick or Gaspar Noé. James Cameron just happened to have a record-breaking budget to build his version of it. 2. Mythic simplicity, radical polemic. The most common criticism of Avatar, that its story is simple, is often used to dismiss it as a serious art. New York Times critic Manohla Dargis, while admitting the film's immersive qualities, called the story basic. But this misses the point and mistakes an artistic choice for a weakness. In art house cinema, a simple or classic narrative often serves as a clear and strong container for complex themes or emotional experiences. This approach is common in ambitious films. Just look at Terrence Malick, his movie The Tree of Life, which is my generation's 2001: A Space Odyssey. uses the straightforward story of a grieving Texas family to explore huge ideas like the Big Bang, the origin of the universe, and the meaning of life. And in the same way, James Cameron uses a basic myth, the outsider who joins an indigenous culture fighting against imperialism, not because he lacks creativity, but he wants to create a familiar framework for his real message. This clear structure lets the film deliver strong anti-colonial, anti-capitalist, and eco-spiritual themes, and in a time when many blockbusters are and were cynical and ironic. Avatar's honesty feels fresh and bold. Its passion and political clarity are closer to message-driven films by Ken Loach or Costa Gavras than to the usual Marvel crowd. 3. Radical formalism and the post-cinematic frontier. Avatar's formal experimentation is so bold, it challenges what we think of as cinematic reality, which is a key goal of avant-garde and art films. The groundbreaking mix of performance capture and photorealistic CGI is not just a step forward in visual effects. It's a new way of creating images that breaks the traditional link between film and the real world. Instead of simply recording reality, Avatar builds entire worlds from scratch. This post-cinematic approach makes viewers think what an image really is. And scholars like Steven Zebke have studied Avatar using delusion philosophy, saying its digital nature creates fresh sensory motor experiences that don't follow old cinema rules. This kind of self-aware work, which questions the medium through how it's made, is a key feature of high modernism, postmodernism, and art house style. From Jean-Luc Godard's narrative breakdowns to Kenneth Anger's experiments with film itself. So, James Cameron's Avatar might be the boldest art film ever made, in my opinion. A clever Trojan horse hidden behind the biggest Hollywood blockbuster. Writing it off as mere spectacle misses the whole point, my boy. Cameron uses the tools of mass entertainment, cutting-edge CGI, and immersive 3D to reach a deep artistic aim, to make viewers feel the awe of a new world and the pain of its destruction. The technology isn't the focus here. It's the way to deliver a sharp and honest critique of colonialism, corporate greed, and environmental harm. By inventing a new cinematic language, or at least iterating it one order of magnitude above where it stood, Cameron invented a new cinematic language that connects the audience to his alien world, creating a powerful mix of form and purpose. He proved a blockbuster can do more than just entertain. It can use the full power of film to make a strong, political, deeply personal statement. A true art house movie.